Good morning, folks. Michael, where's the energy in this room? I stole some. No, there'll be more energy coming. Thank you very much for your time this morning with the Dean. You now get the Associate Dean. I'm Manoj Chopra. I'm the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs. And with me, I bring some unbelievable industry panels, members, speakers from mostly our local industry, but these are very successful folks that will talk to you about themselves and then how their partnership with UCF works. So without wasting much time, I'm going to go straight into the introductions. Each one of the industry partners will introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about themselves and their company, and then we have some questions, and of course we will save time at the end for Q&A from the audience. So think about some good ones for them. I will begin with Cliff.
Thank you. Good morning. Cliff Hatcher, work for Siemens Energy. Worked for Siemens Energy for 23 years now. I'm the Chief Technology Officer, and I lead the Innovation Center Orlando and also the Application Center. It's a 30,000 square foot facility dedicated to developing innovative solutions for decarbonization, sustainability, and also supporting our core business. We have about 100 employees there at the facility. We have internships that run every quarter, about 10 students, and they're faced with different challenges, and then from that, we develop a lot of different solutions. So I'll hand it over.
We'll go to Neville, and I should say a little bit about them to begin with. Cliff, of course, is the head of Innovation Center and Technology at Siemens Energy. Siemens Energy is a great partner of UCF, and we'll hear more about their partnership later. So Neville Maycock Jr., National Director, Avionics Integration Aeronautics at Northrop Grumman. Neville.
Thank you. So I've been with Northrop Grumman for just a little over 7 years. I've been in the aerospace and defense industry for over 20. So I've worked at the Kennedy Space Center, so I'm a rocket scientist as well. At Northrop Grumman, National Director for Avionics Integration. So my team goes and integrates lots of different electronics, some that we make, some that our competitors make, and we integrate that into aircraft and sell it off to Department of Defense customers. I'm based out of Melbourne, Florida. I have a team in Oklahoma City, as well as a team out in California, in San Diego, LA, and in Palmdale. So I spend a lot of time on the road, and we do very difficult stuff. If any of you seen the B-21 rollout in December of last year, you can see some of the technologies that Northrop Grumman makes. And as far as our presence here in the state of Florida, we have a facility 2 miles down the road from here where we do training and simulation. Another facility 25 miles away from here in Apopka where we do optical equipment. In Tampa, we have a cybersecurity facility there. And then you go up on 95 near Jacksonville and St. Augustine. We build or manufacture and build the E-2D Hawkeye aircraft.
Thank you, Neville. Our next panelist is Joshua Zender. He's the engineering lead at the thermal spray coatings and laser welding for Mitsubishi Power.
Hello, good morning. I have been with Mitsubishi Power for 15 years. I interned there prior to becoming a full-time engineer. And most recently, I think it's been about a year and a half or two, I was promoted to engineering lead for our department of the applying the thermal barrier coatings. So Mitsubishi Power is a global company under the Mitsubishi Heavy Industries umbrella in Japan. And we produce and service gas turbines for industrial gas turbines for power generation. And so at our facility in Orlando is a manufacturing facility, and we'll repair and new manufacture all the internal components for those gas turbines. We also have a headquarters in Lake Mary that is mostly business, but also has some design there. And then We have a facility in Savannah, Georgia, right outside actually, it's Pooler, Georgia, and they actually will assemble the turbines there and then ship them out to our customers. And we have a big field service team as well that headquartered out of Houston. That's where they do their training, and they're all over the world. We service the Western Hemisphere exclusively, but everything from South America, Central America, North America, Canada, everything. So,
Thank you, Cliff. The next panelist, point of pride, he was my student in my statics class, and now look where he is. He's the Vice President of Functional Engineering, Space and Airborne Systems for L3 Jamar.
Hey everyone, I'm Jamar Ignacio. I see some of my partners from L3 Harris here as well. So at L3 Harris, we do things that keep you safe, right? If you've used GPS, right? If you use GPS for your map system, if you've used Google Maps, the imagery that you're seeing is coming through our payloads. So we make space payloads, we make avionics systems, electronic warfare systems within my segment. Also, we do intel and cyber work. Got a lot of questions in the last panel around AI and cyber, defensive, offensive cyber work. So we do a number of things for the U.S. government and for commercial companies. We have locations globally around the world. I've had the pleasure of working at many of those locations as a part of our Intel and Cyber International group. And for the last 2.5 years, I've spent my time as the chief engineer prior to the role I'm in today for the F-35 platform. We've been working on the Tech Refresh 3, which refreshes all of the electronics and really the computer, the central nervous system for the F-35 platform. Somebody asked me after the session, what is an F-35? So let me just make sure everybody's clear. It's a fighter jet, and we build the electronic brains of the fighter jet for the 5th-gen air power for the world. We deploy them to other countries, partner nations, and really they're one of the chief reasons that we're sitting in this room safe today. So thanks.
Thank you, Jamar. Jamar was in the plane on Maverick, right, in Top Gun?
Oh, no.
Those are F-18s.
That's an F-18. I realize that.
Yeah,
My
F-18s.
mistake. Last panelist is Michael Chance from Disney. Michael.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, I was trying to get everybody excited from the last session that we were in. So everybody's awake? Yeah, woo! All right, good. It's great to see everybody here. Somebody mentioned as we were walking down the stairs, thank you for being here. I just wanted to thank all of you for taking out the time to get a chance to know UCF a little bit better. So I've been with Disney for 25 years. Originally, I was with Texas Instruments for 13 years on that, working in defense systems. We worked on guidance systems. I learned a lot about doing very accurate thermal IR image tracking algorithms using graphic supercomputers and simulations. And so our division got bought out by Raytheon, and they were going to move us to Arizona, and I didn't want to go to Arizona. So I also have a background in classical piano performance and jazz, and somebody said, well, with your right brain, left brain, maybe you should go work for Disney. So I put something in, and so here I am. So about 25 years ago, some of you may know that there was this piece of land over in the area of Walt Disney World, and it was just dirt at the time, called Animal Kingdom now. And we were walking around there, and so there was a big structure that they were building there. It was Countdown to Extinction or Dinosaur. Worked on the embedded control system for that. And then what I've been doing over the last few years is creating a modeling, simulation, software engineering, and agile development and systems development group overall to create what I always like to say is my root thing that our team is trying to do is create great guest experiences for people that come in to our parks all around the world. We work in all of those fields, very math, science, engineering, rigor, intensive, as we've continued to create very complex attractions. Things have gotten much more sophisticated over the years, like a Rise of the Resistance, for example, at Star Wars that we've opened both in Florida and California. Those systems themselves have vertical lifts, they have autonomous vehicles, they have robotics with hundreds of degrees of freedom and 30,000 I/O sensors that we are now bringing in that data real time as part of our predictive maintenance and AI, ML, data analytics solution, and lead that team overall for what's known as global engineering technology.
Thank you, Michael. And I wanted to point out something before we go to questions. You know, when you think of L3 Harris or Northrop Grumman or Siemens or Mitsubishi, you think of technology. You think of the basic underlying technology. But when we think of Disney, we often think of fun and what we see. But behind the scenes, people like Michael and others, and our graduates as well, are working on very exciting engineering aspects of all of those rides and everything you see. So please remember that you know, our partnership with Disney is a long-standing one, and it's a very technical partnership as well. One of the questions I get from a lot of my students is, how can I work for Disney Imagineering? Because that's something that everybody wants to intern at. So we'll hear about internships in a few minutes, but the first question to the panelists is, students have a lot of choices when they decide which college to attend. What are 3 of the main reasons that, in your opinion, a student should choose UCF's engineering and computer science programs? Let's start with Michael.
Okay. Yeah, I think we've gotten a chance to talk through this previously in the previous session, but I'm going to go back to the things that I think are still really important here. Rigor. It's a rigorous education here, and I'm really proud of what Dr. G and a lot of these other folks and his staff have been able to do, which is to make sure they come out with a solid core set of engineering principles that they can build on. This is really important. You don't want to bypass things like structures and electricity and, of course, calculus and differential equations. I mean, these aren't fun and easy courses sometimes, and there's a lot that takes our brains to wrap ourselves around it. But I'm very thankful of this, and it's one of the reasons I think our interns have been so successful from UCF. One of the reasons I was actually kind of excited to come to this one this morning is I just met with our most recent intern pool, and unbeknownst to me, 4 out of our 6 interns in one of our teams are all UCF students. And I didn't even know that until this last week. And they just kept going around, oh yeah, I'm at UCF, I'm at UCF, I'm at UCF, and I'm UCF. And by the way, we recruit from all the schools across the nation when we end up doing this. And I thought it was very telling that 4 out of our 6 interns were doing that. The other thing I'd like to say is proximity. I think it's very important to think about major metropolitan areas when you look at a university, and especially those that are growing at an interesting rate, especially when it comes to technology development and everything that's going on in this area. I serve on the Orlando Economic Partnership and the Technology Council and the National Center for Simulation, which is based here, and also work with the folks at I-4 Corridor, and we have partnerships all around this area along here, but it's an explosion of technology that's happening here. Getting your education here and being a part of that, as all that's going on, is going to give you a lot of opportunities. And then I was going to say the last thing is the success of your graduates. I always like to brag a little bit about some of our UCF grads, and one that always comes to mind is one that I brought onto our team in her first leadership position, where she helped guide a digital transformation that I was spearheading to look at how we do robotics development and how we do all of that in computer before we build these, so we know exactly how they're on a unit. She is now my boss's boss. She is the senior vice president. Yeah, you should all clap for her. She's an amazing person. I can't wait to text her later and just say, hey, I was bragging on you at this session at UCF today. I hope you don't mind. And she was texting me last night, a couple nights ago, about a meeting that she had with our Imagineering partners out in California. But I can't tell you how, her root, her capabilities and everything has been rooted in everything she's done. And she's taken all that and got her master's degree also here from her Master's of Science in Engineering Management.
Thank you. Jamar?
Yeah, so you're going to hear us say proximity 5 different ways as we go across, but I really boil it down to R, R, and L, right? So the first R is real-world education. We're going to talk about the partnership that industry has with UCF, and that partnership really manifests itself in programs that get students prepared to work in industry. Right, real world. The internships that we partner to provide for students give you what you need to start now, versus waiting until you graduate to learn lessons that would best be learned earlier and really gotten into your system, into your psyche early in your career. Second R is reputation, right? So I was actually, I did my undergrad here. I was a part of many different clubs, Honors College, PLC, President's Leadership Council, and I was the president of our chapter of NSBE here. But I also know that, wherever I go from UCF, I will always find UCF grads. I've worked in our Intel and Cyber International group, had the opportunity to travel to many countries across the world. As I go to those countries, sitting in Australia, I'm sitting next to a UCF grad that went to Palm Bay High, right? You will always find UCF grads. I know you saw the statistics on how many graduates UCF has, and that network makes a difference. Those connections to UCF grads make a difference. I can always reach out to somebody that I know that puts me in a room with somebody that I can talk to for their shared experiences and benefit from what they've already learned traveling the path before me. So that's the second R, the reputation. It precedes itself. And then lastly is location or proximity, right? I was able to do all the things that I just mentioned while interning at a top-tier company and getting my education and finishing my undergrad in 4 years. You can do that at this school. There's many schools that are in other locations. Florida, Central Florida specifically, is a hotbed for technology and innovation right now. With all the technological advances that you're going to hear about as we talk as a panel, those things are happening right now, right here in this area. And this is the area that you ultimately want to be as a student coming into engineering and technology in the industry.
Thank you, Jamar. Cliff.
To kind of bounce off that, like location is a big one. So, the opportunities for employment, internship as well, located in or near Central Florida is overwhelming. You've got, the Space Coast, all of the aerospace, defense industries, EA is not far off. It's just, you have options. And then kind of jumping off of that, you have, at your time at UCF, you also have options. So, when I first applied, I was a civil engineer, and my first semester I actually changed it to aerospace, did a few years as aerospace, and then switched to mechanical, because they allow you to kind of, with your course load, tailor your education to what you find interesting, what you find value in. And so within, even not just jumping from different disciplines, but within your actual electives that you're able to choose, the reason I ended up going from aerospace to mechanical was I really liked the materials side of things. So I took all my electives in materials, engineering and material science. And so they allow you to be able to kind of forge your own path and to tailor it to what makes the most sense for you and your passions.
Neville.
Yeah, so I'll skip location because we're all going to touch on that. But I'll touch on facilities. So I wasn't a UCF grad, but I've seen the growth of the facilities over the past 20 years since I graduated, and it's like night and day. I mean, the amount of investment from industry partners, the amount of investment from UCF into the facilities. You have some of the best facilities, not just in the state, but in the nation. So if you're looking for that as part of your decision, UCF checks that box. Also from a facility standpoint, not just in the College of Engineering and Computer Science, but I don't know if they touched on this on the other portion, but the College of Optics and Photonics is top notch, probably number one or number two in the nation there, and that's all here in Central Florida. So facilities definitely is at UCF is top notch. And the one thing I'll touch on that hasn't been said yet are the support structures and the clubs that are available here for you to succeed. I've worked a lot in the past 5 years with the Office of Diversity and Inclusion here to try to increase the number of women and minorities who go get degrees here, because trying to get an engineering degree or computer science degree is tough. It's very tough. and you need that support structure to get through that degree, and UCF has the support structure to make that happen. One of the clubs I'll touch on that I've been involved with was the National Society of Black Engineers. And in the past 5 years at UCF, they've won the medium-sized chapter of the year 3 out of those last 5 years. And that's because they have a great quality of student that goes to school here, but also with the industry partners, they bring in folks from industry every couple of weeks, and they gather lots of support from industry. So if you're looking for top facilities, you're looking for that industry partnership, UCF is that school.
Thank you, Neville. Cliff?
So I guess let's say location, right? No, definitely. I've traveled all over the world. I've been to a lot of different places throughout my career, and Orlando is my home now, and it is a beautiful city. There's lots of different cultures here, lots of different things that you can find for entertainment. But it's a great opportunity too, because we have the amusement parks, but also from the technology development side, it is growing. We have Research Park, which is right here beside the University of Central Florida. It's one of the largest research parks in Florida. Lots of companies are there. We as Siemens Energy are there with the Innovation Center. And so as a student, there's lots of internship capabilities and opportunities. We engage with the UCF professors a lot and talking with them as far as overall research funding. There's a lot of funding coming into Central Florida from the Department of Energy, Department of Defense. And so as you're going to school and looking for internship opportunities, looking for career opportunities, being in Florida is looking really good. So,
Thank you, Cliff. As we transition to the next question, I just want to make one comment. The panel is outstanding, but the choice of panel is only limited by the size of our room and our chairs, because out there are many people that are deserving of being on this panel because they're supporting our college, they support the dean, and there are other industries involved too. Of course, we're focusing on our strategic partners and those that have been working for a long time. But if you're interested in, say, industrial engineering, a large portion of NASA was trained through the engineering management program. Nicole Stott, one of the astronauts, was an industrial engineering graduate. If you're interested in civil engineering, we have a large number of consultants in the local area that work with us, the Florida Department of Transportation, and all of these other areas that work. So if you're interested in any of these areas, make sure you attend our afternoon departmental presentations, where you'll get an idea of the individual alumni and the accomplishments of those different people. But going back to the questions for the panel, you have a strong partnership with UCF, with the example of things like senior design. If you don't know what senior design is, as a student, after your 4 years here learning all of the courses, you have a culminating experience where you actually design a product, process, or a system, or in the case of civil engineering, it would be a bridge or something like a building. So those are typically done here, and senior design is an outstanding experience for all our students. In addition, you have partnerships with internships, mentorships, research projects, etc., with our college, and these partnerships have been forged and sustained over many years. How does this partnership manifest itself from the point of view of your organization in terms of benefiting our students? Let's start with Cliff.
Yeah, definitely. Partnerships are huge right now for us as Siemens Energy. We're going through the energy transformation, where we're talking about decarbonization, sustainability, and as Siemens Energy, we cannot do it alone. So what we're doing is we need partners from the industry, we need partners from the university, and UCF has really stepped up and been one of our big partners in this role of energy transformation. We're, like I said before, we're engaged with the professors routinely. We work a lot with Dr. Jay Kapot, who runs the Cater Center, and basically we're bringing them over. They're walking through our facility. They're seeing how we're facing these problems. They're offering solutions. They're changing their curriculum to help build up our workforce. And so having that partnership really enables us to efficiently tackle some of these big challenges that we face in the energy industry. And like I said, we can't do it alone. And this university, unlike a lot of the other universities that are out there, they're really looking to partner. They're really looking to build up those research dollars, and UCF is playing a big role in that.
Thank you. Neville?
Yeah, so as I discussed earlier, at Northrop Grumman, we're trying to solve the very difficult problems out there from an aerospace defense standpoint, because we need to ensure that our brothers and sisters who are out there in the military make it back home to their families. So we go and partner with schools like UCF, and we consider UCF an enterprise school. And as an enterprise school, we put, good amount of dollars into their research program, good amount of dollars into their clubs, because we need to find the top talent, and we need to find diverse talent, and diversity not just by skin color, but diversity of thought. And the types of students that, with the types of backgrounds that they bring here to UCF, they check a lot of boxes for Northrop Grumman. And then as I go around, which is a little frustrating to me, but I see tons and tons of UCF people. I'm like, wow, like Jamal was saying earlier, like where are all these students coming from? But they all are top talent folks. So I mean, obviously they're doing something right here at the university. So as you're sitting there, you're trying to make a decision of, for the parents where to send your kids to school, and then for the students, where can I get the best education? UCF is that place.
Thank you. Josh?
All right, so Mitsubishi Power has a long-standing relationship with UCF. We pull exclusively from UCF for all of our interns, and the number of interns we had at a time, has ranged over the years. But we've a good portion of who we've hired or who we've had as interns have grown and become full-time members of our company. And we'll hire industrial engineers to mechanical engineers, aerospace engineers, and there's a lot of retention within the company as well. Like I myself have been there for 15 years. Our director of operations, our general manager, our quality engineering manager, our component engineering manager, just to name a few, are all former interns. And a lot of our engineering staff were former interns. And some have moved on, some have grown into other parts of our company as well, whether it's our design group or sales groups or any other area. And it's a good relationship for us as well as for the school and you specifically, because you get that real world experience as an intern, and it kind of gives you that, educates you on if you enjoy that style of industry, if you need to be looking elsewhere, and you have options when it's not so catastrophic to be able to make those decisions and change. Kind of like as I was mentioning earlier, you have options within your schooling, what courses you take, but then also, mechanical is a very broad field. You have a lot of options that you can get yourself into, and so if that style is not for you, say manufacturing is not for you, maybe you would go into more of a design side of things. So it's just a real good relationship for everybody.
Sure.
All right. I was going to use the analogy of marriage, but gauging by the audience, I'll switch that up. When you're on a sports team, right, partnership is forged through challenge, right? When real hard things happen to you, my son's sitting over here. He played 3 basketball games last Saturday, and his team won the championship. I'm not proud or anything, right? But by the end of the day, that team was closer than they had been all season. The same applies with the partnership between industry, and I can talk specifically to L3 Harris and UCF. As we've faced challenge after challenge individually, we've brought those challenges to the table with each other between industry and the school. The school has to remain relevant, and I've talked about how the school produces talent that's real life workforce ready. Right, so we bring our issues, our challenges, the things that are relevant in industry to UCF, and then UCF helps us to fulfill needs. Right, the diversity piece of that. One of the top things facing our nation as a challenge, and I'm from aerospace and defense, so I'll talk to, is timeliness. right? We are on a tight timeline to defend our freedom, and everybody has different views on it. We're on a tight timeline to defend our freedom. In order to keep our nation whole, we have to ensure that we have the top talent working on the hardest problems in an integrated fashion, because you cannot solve complex problems with just individuals working in their own subject matter expertise swim lane. So our partnership with UCF is all about creating that multidiscipline talent that's ready to go solve those next challenges for our country and beyond.
Thank you, Jamar. Michael.
Yeah, I think you all have already mentioned the intern program, I think multiple times. It's interesting, our group didn't really have one until about 15 years ago when who's now our VP of this team worked with and partnered in order to be able to pull that together. But it is really important about how we think about the growth, not only for our team and our talent, but overall for the universities, right? It's a partnership going back and forth about how we end up extending that talent pool and when we do it. And like I always like to tell our folks when we bring them in from UCF and anywhere else, if it works out that you work for us, that's great. But what we're really trying to do is partner with the university and everything else so that when these students that end up growing up and everything, they're successful wherever they go, whether they go to L3 or whether they go to Northrop Grumman or Mitsubishi or Siemens, right? These are all obviously world-class companies and everything that they end up doing, and you've got a lot of opportunity, but I want them to be successful. So I've actually been in contact with some of our interns that have gone to work for things like Blue Sky Studio or Boeing or some of these other places, and they still stay in contact with me, which I think says something about how it's important that we always partner with universities in order to be able to bring it out. And the other piece that we need to make sure is that problems are changing all the time. It's not stationary. I like to think about like software development platforms, like take for example like a Node.js. Those of you who even know what that is, it is a software development platform that only came about over the last 2 or 3 years. Some of us, I'm going to show my age, worked in Fortran, and then of course came C, C++, everything around all of that. But it's changing so often, and so we have to work with the universities both. It's a technology push and a market pull. And so we are in the marketplace are pulling, and a lot of times the universities are doing this technology push. And so with us, especially in our team, we never know what kind of problems are going to come into us through the door. We had a team of engineers recently that worked on this thing called a cheetah ball. And you can go look at it on the Disney Plus platform. You'll see some of our engineers. It's Series 2, Episode 8 or 6 of that. And the animal programs people came to us and said, hey, we want to make our cheetahs more exciting, okay? And so these team of engineers just ended up doing that on our own, and I think we even had like one of our interns work on this as well. But these are the problems. You just never know what they're going to. You get this rigorous piece of it, but as these very complex things that work in either in energy generation or national security or defense and all of these things, these problems are so far-reaching and they're very difficult. They're not simple solutions that a partnership between like a top-flight university like UCF and in industry is the only way we're going to be able to solve these problems.
Thank you, Michael. I think that was excellent. I think the question was about primarily partnerships with internships, but I'm going to go off script a little bit and ask briefly if you would talk about the quality of our as employees, as employability. If you hire our students, are they ready? Are they prepared? Can you just very briefly, anybody? I'm just going to leave that.
So I'll touch on that first. And for my last comment about being frustrated, it is frustrating to see this all UCF people, and I'm looking for more folks from my alma mater. But the folks from UCF, I mean, they come out and they're ready day one, and that's what we're looking for as an employer. So between the money that we give to help in research to get students who are still matriculating through their program, the experience, from giving them the internship opportunities, we're all doing that to when you graduate and you're looking for that industry position, you're ready day one. And that's the most important thing, because like with what Jamar talking about with the national security stuff. I mean, the threats are out there, and they're coming at a fast pace, and our DoD partners are asking us to find solutions very quickly. And to find solutions very quickly, you have to be prepared. So, and UCF provides that preparation.
I'll kind of just rehash what I already said before, but yeah, the employability is there, especially within our intern pool. So we've pulled, I'll say probably roughly a third of our interns have probably been hired within our company over the years, and I would say I think a third of our current engineering team is a former intern, but the the opportunities that UCF imparts onto those students, that it just makes the readiness with the interns ideal.
I'll just say, I mean, echoing what the fellow panelist said, I mean, UCF prepares students, and we see it day in and day out. We've had a pool of interns from last summer come in and supported actually the F-35 platform with me, and they weren't just coming in and doing what they were told, right? That's another piece of it, right? In engineering, we need people that are willing to push the envelope. They were coming in and saying, here's what else we need to go do, and that's something that it's hard to find talent that's ready to push the envelope. But UCF has cracked the code. I mean, through the development of the talent at this school, I mean, we've been able to push technology envelopes further, and a lot of times it's the new students coming in. It's not the folks that have been around 30 years necessarily coming up with the next step forward in cyber, in AI, in machine learning. It's the new talent coming in, and UCF is definitely partnered to help push that forward with ready-to-go talent.
Yeah, I'll just echo that too. Is that give you some real examples? Is that Innovation Center Orlando, we do about 100, probably about 500 different projects a year, and resource availability, resource prioritization is always a topic for us, right? And we're working on some very challenging tasks, and we just recently hired 2 UCF mechanical engineers. They came in, and we're doing the prioritization, and I'm like, who's going to work on this project? Who's worked that? They were the top of the list, and they're just working for us for the last 2 months. So employability is there, ability to walk in the door and be able to take engineering tasks and drive it to solutions is there, and that really talks a lot about this university. It's top notch.
I'm going to use a personal story again on this. I lost my first wife about 16 years ago, and my second wife had previous 2 children, and so we've been married for about 12 years now. And I had these 2 stepchildren that I have. I'm just so proud of what they've been able to accomplish, and they're both UCF engineering grads. And how they got there is very unique. They went through the Direct Connect program through Valencia. And my stepdaughter, and neither one of them, by the way, were absolute top flight high school grads, okay? But they really felt like they needed to advance what they were doing. My stepson ended up getting in a very bad motorcycle accident. He severed his spine. He was in the Marines. He wanted to fly jets. He says, well, if I can't fly jets, I want to go build them. He says, I think I'm going to go mechanical engineering degree. But at the same time, his 5-year-older sister, she was working in the restaurant industry as a waitress and everything. She said, I can't keep doing this forever. I go, no, you can't. She goes, well, maybe I should take trig. I go, okay. And so I started teaching her, trig. And then she says, well, maybe I can take calculus. I go, yeah, you can take calculus. And so she started doing that. And then she decided, well, maybe I'll go into mechanical engineering. And I love this story because UCF, they used to say this all the time. I don't hear it as much anymore, but it stands for opportunity. And this is the thing that this school will give you that you can't get anywhere else. So fast forward now, my stepson is now finishing up his master's in aerospace engineering here, and he's working for Navair. My stepdaughter was just named Employee of the Year for TLC Engineering Downtown, which is an absolute excellent builder of facilities around the state, and she's now their main HVAC expert for building and hospitals. So I think it just shows that these graduates, they don't give up on people. Okay, they won't give up on you. If you don't give up on the university, they won't give up on you. And transversing through, sometimes things that are difficult things that happen in your life, and that resiliency ends up showing up. I think in the university is going to be there for you to help get you through that.
Each one of those answers were amazing, but Michael's was, so why don't we give him a hand? I mean, that was... So now we will transition to questions from the audience. Hopefully I'm going to get some help from over there with a microphone. Please, no? Okay. Well, I'll repeat the question. Okay, well, upstairs we were having... All right, go ahead. Can you stand up? Yeah.
So, if you are receiving applications, what are some qualities or aspects of applicants that make them stand out in the crowd?
That's a good question. So the question is, they receive applicants and applications and resumes. What are some of the qualities that stand out that they look for? So anybody?
I think the big thing that we look for is experience, and if there's not experience, we also look for any type of organizations, clubs that they're involved in, what seminars are they going to, what is their interaction with any type of American societies for like mechanical engineering, anything like that. So really, looking for the experience, and if they don't have the experience, what type of clubs and organization are they involved in?
I'll just say, there's many books written on the 3 H's: humble, hungry, and hustle, right? You want people that you can work with that are humble, that are not just going to take over and make their idea the idea, but are willing to listen and move forward. You want folks that are hungry, that are determined to get from done to done, if you know what I mean. I talked to my son about, closing the eye of the tiger, and we could go into technical aspects, but those 3 H's: humble, hungry, and hustle, right? Willing to go do the work, not going to sit on the sideline, but they're going to pick up a shovel and start digging. Those are the qualities that I look for. And then I add a 4th one, which is horses that win races, right? I look for winners, people that have shown that they've been able to succeed in the things that they've done in the past, right? So those 3 H's, and add that last one, people that are willing to win and do what it takes to win.
I'm going to quickly add a 5th H there, but sometimes if you're not involved with any of those organizations, it's not a bad idea. You definitely should do that. But if you don't have that work experience to pull from or any of those organizations, sometimes even your hobbies can be applicable for that job, and maybe set you aside from somebody else. If you're like deep into the 3D printing and design, that's maybe applicable for a design CAD style position. So it's just anything that can kind of set yourself aside from anybody else.
Yeah, and I'll add community service if you don't have any of those things. Even myself, I coach baseball at the high school I graduated from, Melbourne Central Catholic, and I look for people who give back to their communities because people poured into me throughout my career. So I'm expecting people like yourselves who are going to be going to college. I mean, just going to college, you're above a great portion of the population, and I expect students to give back. So that's one of the questions I ask during the interview process.
Yeah, I was just going to follow up like this. Very similar question at the last panel, and I was so impressed with some of these answers and the way you all think about this. And I was in a panel this week over at Tampa, the Synapse Conference, and we had an executive panel, and it was interesting hearing all these people, and we really came down to thinking very similar about how we hire people. But I always look for these 5 characteristics with people: honesty, integrity, trust, humility, kindness. These are just baseline characteristics for us. And I always ask people, look, do you have a problem with any of those? Because with the way that we run our technology and analysis group is very much about we're either going to rise together or we're going to fall together. We're all going to be there for each other and how we end up doing it. So it's all about realizing that people have to have resiliency. They have to have fought through difficult problems in their life. They've knocked down barriers, like you said, hustle and pushing through the floor and becoming, even with all of those things against somebody, they still came out at the end of the tunnel and were able to make it work. And then also, we want them to be like crazy smart too, right? So it's that conjunction when you think about being able to do that, because the last thing you want is somebody that is really talented and really smart but doesn't have a lot of those core solid characteristics that you can bank on, because those people can like destroy entire teams, because if all they're focused is on their own inner success and not the success of those around them, then people will pick up on that and they won't want to work with them, and then that'll breed kind of like a toxic culture. And once you have that inside of a hard organization, that's very hard to turn around. And then to follow up on the community service thing, I always like looking at the resume on the bottom and then start working my way up. So when you see those things that people are like devoting themselves in the community and those things they feel really strongly about, a lot of times that does point to their character capability too.
Excellent. Next, go ahead, man.
Can I piggyback off of his question? That's what your parameters are for hiring, but what about what's the likeliness of a freshman getting an internship, and what are you looking at? Because they don't have the experience, they haven't joined the clubs, they haven't done anything yet. So
Let me repeat the question. The question is, what about hiring freshmen as interns? They don't really have all the experience yet. Do they look at that?
I just want to answer that really quickly, because I can do that really quickly. Actually, we don't hire freshmen in our case. You have to be like, I think what you all call like a rising junior, or just completed your sophomore year. And a lot of those is because that reason. We don't want people to feel, the pool is so wide at that point. It's a lot easier for us to focus on juniors at that point.
So I'll say this: networking. I mean, you have 5 panelists here that have connections. Exceptions to the rule do occur, but one thing I tell people coming into the universities, especially freshmen, go do research. Close your ears, professors. You're cheap to free labor for them, right? So, if you showcase that you have the aptitude and you've done, maybe in high school you've done something that's pertinent to the research, you can actually go partner with them, and on day one, start getting that experience. And if you can't get an internship because, well, you don't have the ability to because you just turned 18. It's like, well, you have research experience, and that to me is just as important as internship experience on a resume.
It is less likely that you'd maybe get an internship. Maybe towards the end of your freshman year, it'd be a lot more likely. I know I had a friend while I was in college get it at the end of his freshman year, and we've hired from UCF hired interns from the end of like kind of their getting into the summertime freshman year, and then that specifically the one that worked in our group ended up finishing all 3 years, the rest of his 3 years with us, and then getting hired, and he's still currently working there. And so it's maybe harder, but don't stop looking. Keep trying, keep putting yourself out there.
I mean, so my advice in the first session around the same thing was go build the network, have conversations, even the art of going to the career fair and talking with the recruiters is an art form. I mean, I told my story of how I got my first internship. I wasn't trying to get it. I was NSBE president, National Society of Black Engineers president. I had no money, and I was trying to get to a conference. Right, so speaking to folks from L3 Harris saying, hey, can you sponsor a bus for us so we can get our chapter to conference? And the guy turned around and said, do you have an internship? And I'm like, I need money. right? But so rest is history, right? So go network, go work with industry partners. We do have freshman interns. We at one point had high school interns actually at L3 Harris. So there's an intern program that's open to freshmen. It's not as likely, but make those connections now. Build those relationships and those soft skills of being able to network and negotiate early in your college.
Yeah, I'll just build on that is networking. Go out there and build a network. When I was going to school, I had CAD Key 97. They taught that. It's an AutoCAD program. I went directly from that class to getting a position. And it wasn't an internship. It was part-time work, right? So get experience. That's the key. Get experience. It's either through an internship or part-time work. Just start working. Start going to school, start working, getting experience, learning those soft skills, learning how to, work with, challenging situations. How do you handle that? And so when you do go to that interview with the company of your choice that you want to intern, you're going to have some answers to give. You're going to have to say, hey, what was a challenging way that you faced adversity? How did you overcome it? You're going to have answers, right? And so as you're sitting there doing the interview, those are the things that you want to see. So just start learning and start applying and start networking.
You triggered a thought, and this is not your question, but just really quick tidbit. Go get experiences in what you can get experiences in, right? I mean, today you can do projects on just about anything right now, right? You can open your phone and sort through how to do things that maybe you're not even learning yet in school. Balance it, right? When I first came into UCF, I was signed up for every club, and I had to slowly, bring that down. So, word of advice to incoming freshmen, be careful what you sign up for. Make sure that they're focused towards your career and where you want to take your life. But go work on projects now, right? First priority is getting your grades right. But once you got the grades down, make sure you're working on projects that are going to help you going forward.
Yeah, at least for myself, when I was an undergrad, I spent a ton of time in the career services office, building up those soft skills, meeting employers that come through, and just practicing. Because I say as engineers, the stereotype is we can't communicate very well. The chuckles out there are probably some of you. Right, so, the practice, right, sitting up here in front of a panel, not exactly my, the thing that I enjoy doing every single day, but, the practice makes it seem like, hey, I've been doing this for years, but inside I'm probably a little bit, scared, right? But the practice makes it perfect. So when you have that critical person that you want to go meet and you have to do that, 5-10 second elevator pitch, it comes off as natural because you practice so many times.
Thank you. Great answers. I'm going to add one other thing that I typically advise, and I've been here 30 years, is get involved with professional society clubs and so on. At least the first year, that's safe. You're not having to go out there too much. You're close to campus and do well on your courses, as they said. And the other thing is those professional societies are actually involved in some pretty fun things. They're building things. It could be the Baja vehicle that they race against others, or the rockets that they send up, or in my discipline in civil, they build a concrete canoe and race against other schools. And those are really exciting events. They're competitive. University of Florida used to dominate those races 20 years ago, and we got some help with materials from NASA and other places. Huntsville, Alabama was getting help from their NASA, so we said, we're going to go get help from ours. And we started getting very competitive, and we were great. So now, I remember the advisor there said, oh, we got to worry about UCF racing now. I'm like, yep, you do. So, it's just fun competition, but this is the kind of thing students can do. And by the way, I think it looks good on the resume, that they were such and such chair of this committee and racing this car or something like that. So those are the kind of things you can do. Next question. Yes, go ahead. So the question is, how flexible are these companies in the hours that they can work while they're going to school and taking classes, and then what kind of mentorship they provide while folks are still in school? Did I capture? Okay. Anybody?
I'll go first. Usually we have people intern with us first. So after their 10-week summer internship, if they want to go, when they go back to school, if they want to work for us part-time, it's less than 20 hours a week. We could, potentially make that work, and that's in like our Orlando facility and our Melbourne facility. We have UCF students who do go to school and then still work for us less than 20 hours a week. As far as mentoring goes, when you come in as an intern at Northrop Grumman, you have a buddy and a mentor. Your buddy makes sure that you know where the bathroom is and the cafeteria is, and then your mentor is the person that gives you your general direction on a day-to-day basis. And then what I tell interns when they come in is find multiple mentors at all levels. It could be the folks who just graduated from UCF to someone at my level. And where that benefits you is, one, you build your network, but also it gives you a different aspect, a different look from the business. So someone who's a new grad coming in the company, they're looking at things from the vision that they see every single day. I could tell you things from what they call like a 40,000 foot view is, here's how what this new grad is doing, how that impacts the entire aircraft platform, how it impacts the entire company. So that's part of like the normal course of business for us is, you get a mentor, but go get some more. There's never a shortage of people that you should have in your back pocket to go to for advice.
Everyone understands that you're students, and the most important thing is for you to still, finish your courses with decent grades. So the benefit of our facility is we run 24/7, so we have the flexibility to allow, the work schedule to drift before first shift or later than, first shift would end. But, we understand you have classes and projects, and so it's the same, I'm sure, for everybody. If they're like, hey, I got a test I got to study for, no one's gonna, ding you for that. And then, I can't remember the second part. Oh, the mentoring. Yeah, sorry. And so yeah, again, it's probably very similar for all companies, but for us, you are assigned a specific engineer within a group, and you work for them, and you have some tasks, obviously, directly from them. And then we have like a lead engineer that kind of, if there's any new tasks that are outside of that, we'll kind of disseminate that to the whole group.
Okay. Any more questions? Yes, go ahead. That's a good question. So the question is, which fields are currently having the most demand, and what do they feel in the future will be the most demand?
So I'll take that start, I guess. So in our industry, I would probably say mechanical is probably best for us, but industrial is always a good one as well. Like you can apply that trade to manufacturing facilities and other corporations, streamlining. I know some of our industrial engineers that left our company went to work for Advent Health and Orlando Health, working on streamlining and improving how the nurses react to new patients. But honestly, if I had to pick one, I'd say computer science. I think, obviously programming and AI and all that is the wave of the future. So, as a computer science guy, you probably.
Yeah, I started computer science. I went into computer engineering, so that's the bent and background behind what you're going to hear. But I'll take the cop-out answer and say interdisciplinary engineers. Right, engineers that understand more than, our CTO says that he's looking for T-shaped engineers, right? Engineers that are really deep in one area, but also can span and understand other areas of engineering, right? We work in IPT structures, integrated product teams. Everything that we do, I don't know if I gave the example already here, but everything that we do boils down to how do all the disciplines of engineering play together. Right, when you're dealing with microelectronics, what software can I get to run on that very small device? When you're dealing with what Mr. Nipper and I have worked on most recently in F-35, making changes to the hardware after you're in qualification testing is an extremely cost preventative thing to do. So how do I change my VHDL FPGA code, or how do I change my embedded software that runs on there to compensate for issues that I'm having in the hardware space, right? It takes engineers that are thinking broader than just their specific discipline of engineering to go conquer those really, really complex and interrelated problems.
So my ultra biased answer is probably a combination of electrical engineering and computer science. And I say electrical engineering because a lot of the stuff that we're doing is we want faster speeds in everything. We want to push more data through. And that's, with, the artificial intelligence, you're creating massive amounts of data. How am I going to, do I have the hardware to make, this data pass through? And then for the computer science piece is everything is moving towards a digital environment. So, even mechanical engineering is like, okay, how can I put all these designs through, digital twins? So I can design it, and the people who have to manufacture it, they can take that straight from a model into the manufacturing floor and actually build it. So software is, obviously the wave of the future.
Yeah, I would say like some of our biggest growth we've had has been there's been a number of initiatives that our team has had to lead to really change the way we think about doing things. But I think probably this biggest growth is this data analytics predictive maintenance solution that we've been building from the ground up. We just couldn't find anything that fit our requirements because of the processing speed, power, analytic capability that we needed. So we just built it. And that particular use case of that is growing exponentially just every week. I always get somebody asking me about what we can do it. So definitely, obviously everything focused around that, AI, statistics, but like was said earlier about understanding the rigor, as we talked earlier about the electrical and mechanical base of that, you really need that to understand in order to build those algorithms. So you really need to understand the hardware functionality of how to do it. So generally what I say, I think it's a common thing here is, look, no matter what you end up going into, please learn how to code. It's going to be something that's going to hold you back if you don't know how to do that. And I've seen that with engineers that have gone strictly down a path in some of the fields that don't force you to do that. And they get about 15 years in their career and they just haven't built that way of thinking in their brains, and it locks them out of roles in the future for what they end up doing. I also want to talk a little bit, I haven't mentioned this in the last time, Disney, we hire a lot of industrial engineers, by the way. Our 4 vice presidents of each one of the main parks at Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Studios, and Animal Kingdom, those are all former industrial engineering majors.
Cliff?
I'm sorry, just real quick. Yeah, sorry, I feel like I'm talking too much here, but I just remembered, Neville mentioned earlier Creel. Creel is I think, a huge industry right now, optics and photonics, and lasers, basically. So I think UCF, I think their bachelor degree, optic science and photonic engineering, is one of 3 in the U.S. And so that's pretty, state of the art. And a growth industry. I know they're always constantly looking for optical people, optical engineering people in the industry, and have to pull from other disciplines just to fill those roles because there's not enough of them out there. So I think that's another huge one that's up and coming.
Thank you. Okay. I think we're out of time. I'm just going to say a few closing comments, and then we'll go from here. So I think from the Dean's overview that you heard and the one I gave upstairs, the student panel, and then the industry panel, what we are trying to do here is what I told the group upstairs. Our theme today is for you to decide why pick UCF. What makes us unbelievably good? I'm not just going to say good. And so you've heard all of these presentations. You've heard a select group of industry partners give you their testimony. And so I hope you'll get a chance now to spend some time with the departments of your choice. After lunch, where you're headed now, please go over to Engineering 2 Atrium, and you will have a display hall there with exhibits, and then we will begin the sessions with your departments as you're registered for on your registration. One quick announcement, I think it was made earlier, is the computer science session is not in it is not in HEC 101, it is in BA 107, BA 107. We'll get you help getting there if you're interested in that session. So after lunch, we'll see you over there. Thank you.